Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. Selling, scaling, selling, leads. Oh my gosh. You guys are a mess out there. I don't know, but I have the man with the fix, with the solution, with the strategies, and with the insights. Raul Hernandez Ochoa, welcome to the show.
David, excited to be here and energized. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's such a thrill to have you here. For the few people on the planet who do not know that Raul story, could you just share with us a little bit about the professional journey that brought you to the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, so it started, I think, over 10 years ago. Did my own first agency with a gentleman that I never met before. He was in Brooklyn. I was in San Diego. We became close friends and we started growing a company. We grew to the point where we were like, we actually have to hire people, and this is not the path we want to dive into, because I personally was nerding about the work and the execution and working with clients. Fast forward from there, I was working and supporting other agencies to the tune of helping one grow from 7 to about 21 employees, almost tripled in a year. And then a mentor at the time told me, you should write that down. Like, what should I write down? You should write down some of the lessons. Like, why? He's like, just do it. So I wrote the first book. That came out 2020. And then from there, everything has changed significantly on both sides for that year and for the business. But since then, been working with teams, agencies, info products, like anyone teaching education, and helping teams grow online. And growth means different things for different people. But I think the growth that I like is sustainable, where you're not burning out, in alignment to your values, in alignment to what you're trying to achieve in your world.
And you do a lot of fantastic work, not only with agencies, but with professional services businesses, coaching businesses, training businesses, mentoring and mastermind type of businesses.
Yeah.
If there is any significant difference between the agency world and that sort of coaching, training, mastermind world, are there any nuances where you would have a different take on the world, agency versus training and masterminds?
Well, there's 3 facets to every business. There's the marketing, there's the operation, and then fulfillment, or the product. The only difference is fulfillment, and that'll differentiate on your profit margins, your strategic approach, your hiring, the stressors that you have. But everything else on the front end, the principles are all in the same. I focus on first principles first. So it's all same principles. Different channels or acquisition methods are going to vary, but you have to follow the same principles.
Yeah. I'm curious, because one of your superpowers among many is lead generation. What I'm hearing is lead generation is getting kind of challenging these days. And you have an amazing way to diagnose. It's like, wow, so having a hard time getting leads, you're not getting the right kind of leads, you're not getting the right quality, the right quantity. How can we, number one, diagnose, and then number two, start to think about fixing a lead gen problem?
So leads are easy. And anyone tells you that leads are hard, like, they're lying to you. Like, getting leads is pretty easy. You can flip on an ad, you can go through a database, you can find leads nearly anywhere. The key thing is which leads or which prospect or which relationship is the right for you. And when you reach out to them or you're putting an ad in front of them, why should they pay attention to you versus the 1,000 other things that they're paying attention to?
Yes.
So I think the first thing, I have like a 3-facet approach where it's pipeline generation, then conversion, and profit. But here in pipeline generation, we all think about, I got to get those leads, or I got to get that, 15 prospects, or talk to 5 people today, or whatever your process might be for the day. The key thing is signal to conversation. based on what you actually do, based on the services. When does your service or your work or your coaching or your information become important in your prospect's mind? And identifying that key arc in their story narrative around what are they going through right now? Why should they care about listening to you? And when can you reach out to them or present an advertising to them that is in alignment with what they're seeking right now so that you finish their sentence and your outreach, your connect, your ad becomes a value add versus a grab. So that's the first thing to kind of diagnose. Like, when does your work actually become important? The second is, what can you do to create relevance in around what you're actually doing, the client that you're going after? And this is beyond just ICP. I think we've been talking about this. Everyone's nauseous on LinkedIn around, you got to build your ICP, your persona. That's great, but that's yesterday's news. The key thing right now, and the thing that I wrote in Growth Plan, I forgot how many years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, is we want to dive into the desires. The best salespeople, the best marketers, we don't target personas. We don't target demographics. We target desire. What is a desire that exists right now in the marketplace, and how are you tapping into that? And then once you tap into that, you frame your value, what you actually do. The only tool that you have is what we're doing right now between mouth and mouthpiece, communication.
Yeah.
They don't know your value, the work that you do, if you just sound like everyone else. You have to communicate it in a way through your offering, through your value proposition, through your headlines of how you're going to support them and based on where they're at, based on the desire that they're telling you. And now we can dive into like conversion core if you want to dive into that. But on your lead generation problem, you'll never lack these. I talk to clients, and when I work with them, I tell them you're never going to run out of leads. And it's true. We're never going to run out of leads.
Yeah.
The key thing is, how are we going to reach out to them? What's the habit stack, the technology, the go-to-market strategy that you need? But you're never really going to run out of leads.
So I've heard you talk about this before on your podcast and in your videos about don't sell the service, right? Don't sell the service, don't sell the program, don't sell the coaching, sell the outcome, sell the end state, sell the end result. I love this. What I have not heard you say before, because I haven't listened to every single episode of your show, is this concept of desire. Mm-hmm. So when I hear desire, I would love you to riff on this for a little bit, because there are low-level desires of low-level prospects who are struggling, and there are high-level desires of high-level, already somewhat successful prospects who are doing well and who want to do better. My theory is we shouldn't be selling to strugglers at all, and we should be talking about champagne problems or champagne desires, in this case, to champagne prospects. When someone comes to you, Raul, and says, hey, here's my marketing, here's my ads, here's my webinar, can you pretty well diagnose, oh, dude, you're talking to strugglers. You are not talking to your highest and best and most lucrative prospect?
Let me share with you a story. So I flew out to Texas, was at a conference, and then I met with a good friend, and he was having the situation, doing webinars. So the funnel, the quote unquote funnel.
Oh, yes.
Everyone bashes on funnels, like they still work to this day. So don't bash on what works. It's people who are killing an ideology because they want to sell you something else. But his funnel was add to webinar registration, to 60-minute webinar, to clarity call, to close. And they were doing pretty good at it, above industry standards in terms of show and close rate. Industry leader, big name, and they were struggling. So they had an issue. Lots of different factors that attributed to that. But when I went and diagnosed, let me see the ads, let me see the webinar. I watched all the webinars, did the replays, did a mock call, like pretended I was a prospect. They could suss me out pretty easily, but you know, that's how life is. But I went through the entire process and understood, okay, here's what was said. Here's what I felt and understood as a buyer. There's some disconnecting discongruence. And also here's where the market's going. There's some changes in what's happening with technology, with AI, with their industry, with the fears and the top of mind like desires that their industry is facing today, plus the overarching fears and changes of what's happening in the workforce. Like we're not capitalizing on that. And also we're, to your point, talking to people who are down here, we need to convince them of first, they need to want the thing. And then we convince them that we are the right thing for them. Instead, we're not going to focus on this group to convince them that they need to want to or desire this kind of product or program. That was the first aha moment. It's what are we convincing our prospects to do? And not that you have to sound like manipulative here, but you shouldn't convince anyone of anything. You just need to tap into what's already existing in the marketplace and just channel that through. So instead of convincing people you should consider this, most of like, you are considering this. Here's how we can help you successfully do this at different tiers or different levels. So that was a small tweak of who we're talking to. There was a change in the entire webinar script, the ad copy, the visual, the headlines, like the entire narrative, and also the value presentation of how we're actually going to speak to what they're thinking about. Not because we're super geniuses. It's they just have a plethora of data on their customers and their market and their audience. So we just tap into that, speak to their narrative, draw them in, show them how we can support them. And you have to be exceptional at what you do. For this to work, you can't have a crap offer. You can't have a crap service. I only work with people who are like ready to roll and actually have experience and deliver at world-class levels. But they are going to support them at a higher level. Then the sale becomes easy. Do you want this or not?
Hey, super quick station break question. Have you seen our free executive briefing on elevating your CEO brand? Check it out right now at doitmarketing.com/webinar. And now back to the show. A lot of times people think that going through that process that you just outlined so brilliantly, they say, okay, I've got the right ad, I've got the right messaging, the webinar has the right hooks, we're booking calls. People are not converting on the calls. Raul, my offer, I got the wrong offer. I'm selling too much, I'm selling too little, I'm selling the wrong thing. When they suspect that their offer has something that's missing, funky, broken, or sad in the offer, how do you do offer engineering? How do you diagnose, or what have you seen with your clients, that what's broken with most offers?
Fear and lack of clarity. I'll give you 3 stories. So I remember I work with clients on Basecamp, so I get this ping on a Saturday. Hey, we're pitching our first multi-6-figure client. I'm scared out of my wits. I'm going to be laughed out of the room. Got my attention. That's how you can get my attention on a Saturday. Not that I'm going to respond on Saturday, but you'll get my attention on a Saturday. Got my attention. I booked a call. Dove through the presentation deck. This is a consulting agency. Drove through the presentation deck, reviewed what they were trying to do, identify the key thing that the end client wanted. And everyone was like, oh, everyone just wants revenue and money. Yeah. But why, or what's the difference? Here, it wasn't just revenue and money. It was reputation. They were selling reputation. And we just outlined if this is what you want, if this is what you want to achieve, here's what needs to be true for that to happen. So you provide a roadmap. So you hit the desire, provide the roadmap. Here's what needs to be true for you to get what you want. Now, based on where you are, you get to decide how deep do you actually care about this desire to solve it, and how far do you want to go with us to help you achieve that? And you provide options. Could be 2 options, could be 3 options. This isn't a worst, okay, best. This isn't a premium, diamond, deluxe. This isn't for you to pretend that you're giving them the power. This is for you to guide them to a decision in alignment with their budgets, their state of mind, their mindset of the future, and the hope that you're giving them to move and solve the issue. Safe to say she closed. And a year later, now those deals become normal, which is funny how these things work. Another client couldn't break through a glass ceiling of a retainer. As a consultant, couldn't break through that glass ceiling, does exceptional work, if you look at the results that they get, dude, it's incredible. It's like, I want those results, but I'm not your target market, but that is amazing. Why are you not selling at the level that you want to sell? Reworked the offer stack. And the only thing you have to do here is how you communicate what you're doing, what you already do for them, and show how you're going to be proactive to get the end result. Closed a client 25% above. They ever closed. We broke the glass ceiling. So it's identifying again. What are you doing? Are you selling a service, or are you selling them a roadmap? Like whenever I buy a service from an agency, or I'm buying some sort of consulting service or whatever I'm buying, If they sell me, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you these services. Like, okay, great. But what does that mean? I don't care for your service. Like, I actually want to hit this goal. What are you going to do to hit this goal? I remember having an agency for a client on behalf of a client, and they literally pitched me and they sent me everything as a Chinese menu. We're going to do this email, that LinkedIn post, it almost like a little menu. And it was, I kid you not, it was a legit spreadsheet, like a menu. And I'm like, okay, I'm scratching my head. Why am I paying $500 for an email? Why is this thing $175? Why are the ads so cheap? Like, what does that actually mean? Why should I don't get it. Like, there's no value to action.
Yeah.
Versus if they just changed and identified, hey, Raul, what are you actually wanting to achieve with this client? What is the end goal? Okay. Why is that the goal? Cool. What have you tried before? Why have you failed before? Why is this important in your world now? Just diving into the different modalities. And yeah, you ask why, but you really need to ask why intentionally. You just can't ask it like a blabbing kid. Why? You have to dive in and understand what's the cost of inaction. What have you done before? Why is this important to you? Who is aligned with this? And what is your mindset about the future? Do you believe that this can work?
Yeah.
Because if they can't believe it, they're not going to take action.
Yeah. This is such an important discussion. I don't know who originated this, but I'm sure you've heard this. I've heard this. When people don't invest with us, it's usually around a lack of belief in one of three areas. They either don't believe in you, they don't believe in your process or your program, or they don't believe, so they believe in you, they believe in your process and the program, they don't believe in themselves because they won't do the work, they've failed at this before, they have all this kind of self-limiting head trash. So when you're looking at someone who's a prospect and you go through this outcome-based, desire-mapped conversation, what have you done? Why hasn't that worked? What else have you tried? What's the cost of inaction? All those brilliant bullets that you just mentioned. How do we overcome? They don't believe us. They don't believe in our program. They don't believe in themselves. Or how do we even diagnose that to start with?
Well, not every client or not every prospect, depending on your level of relationship, not everyone needs the whole, like, going the 9 yards. You can discuss an offer, you can discuss a product, you can discuss a program, and they can either say yes or no. So it depends on how they came into your world. Referral, good friend, introduction, ad, like, it just depends on where they come from.
Great point.
To your point on belief in themselves. So I'm actually writing a book on this because I see this across all my clients, and just like, there's some clients who have we unlocked paid ads for them, 10x return. They're like, I don't know if this is the right business for me. Okay, interesting. And that's not a bad thing. Another one that had a shift in their approach that was going in one direction is completely pivoting services, again, based on identity and belief. So the deeper thing here isn't about belief in themselves. The deeper is misalignment with your integral core values, which compresses of your identity, which stem from your relationships, and then how you show up in the world on your behaviors and actions. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You can't really change that. Like, I can't change that with my clients. I can only guide, provide value, and say, hey, this is your decision. Wherever you want to go, we'll honor that.
Yeah.
So you really can't change that. If you, like, on the call to diagnose it, I think, I don't know, I'm more of a sense person, and my former HR managers hated me for it, but I would know when to hire someone in like 13 seconds or less, or fire them. And I've been only wrong maybe 2% of the time. And I know that's very cocky to say, but that's just who I am. Other people need like several panels, interviews, the analytics, the data. That's fine. But that's just who I am. That's just my sensory, hopefully, gift and approach to it. So sometimes, you know, when you're talking to the person, what's their dialogue like? What's their self-talk like? What's their self-image? What self-image are they drawing out for you based on what they're saying, how their posture is, their tonality, where they're looking at? And I know you can't do that a lot via Zoom, but you can hear and you can sense it. So that's just my approach too. It's not easy. I'm not going to say everyone can do that, but just look at that. What is the painting that they're drawing of who they are based on the words that they use, stemming back to the core principle, which I think is the most important skill set ever is communication.
Wait. We're not just going to listen to this episode. There are downloads, there are resources, there are links, there are bonuses waiting for you on this episode's page when you go over to doitmarketing.com/podcast. That's right, doitmarketing.com/podcast. Grab the notes right under this episode. See you over there. I want to go back to desire, because when you said that, I had like 15 different thoughts kind of flying through my brain cells. I was like, oh my God, that is such a rich topic. I'm just going to use a silly example. There are certain trigger events, there are certain conditions before which a prospect would have no interest in your product, service, etc. After which your prospect would have no interest, but during, oh my gosh, it's the most important thing in the world. So if you've written some amazing books, I've written some books, we all know that a business book author, when they are launching a book or getting ready to launch a book, they would almost sell a child. Not necessarily their child, but they would sell some other child to make sure this book has the very best shot of being successful, getting the reviews, the sales, generating the clients that they deserve. So let's say there's a 6-month window. So you just said, hey, I'm working on a new book. I'm working on a new book. People would come up to you and say, hey, Raul, I see that you're working on this new amazing book about, people's self-worth, self-image, and why they buy, why they don't buy based on that. Have you thought about doing a TED Talk? Have you thought about doing a book tour? Have you thought about doing whatever? So number one, they've done their homework on you. Number two, the relevance, they've dialed the relevance up to an 80 or 90% mark. Someone comes to me with that, I would take that call. Now, 6 months before, spam. 6 months after, spam. But this person reached out, having done their homework, relevant, reasonable, would you be interested in having a chat on how we can make sure that your next book gets the reviews, sales, and attention that it deserves and helps you grow your business? It's like, I'm going to take that call because that's where I am right now. Talk to me about desire and trigger events and how we can really zero in on that sweet spot of exactly when people need you the most.
But you have to make assertions and infer pain and infer. Well, I can't even say that I'll sell another child because that's having kids of my own. But I understand that we want things to be successful. So let's use that example. Let's say you scraped listen notes and you got the transcripts from different podcasts, or let's say you're honing in on this speaker. Let's say it's David or Raul. And then through an AI in a workflow, you like deep search David. What were the last 5 or 10 podcasts he was on? Okay, these are the links. Okay, great. Look it up on Listen Notes. From there on Listen Notes, get the transcription. What did David say in relation to our services that he might be in market? And if he didn't say anything in the last 5 podcasts, then maybe there's no signal, there's no approach. We don't reach out to them. But maybe he mentioned, I'm reaching out. I'm writing this book. It's going to release in 18 months. And the service that you have is perfect for like the 17, 16 mark month line before the book is published.
Yeah.
You would identify what measurable public information you could gather based on what you do, based on who you serve, based on, like we mentioned, the story arc. When does your work become the most important? So that hopefully can give you an example of what to do, but it varies per industry and per client. For example, manufacturing client, tariffs, right? We had a made in the USA situation. So we dived in which companies would make the most sense, who are going to suffer the most from these tariffs, where we could support them to manufacture here in the States and or in other locations. That's timely. We listened or we got transcripts from their investor calls. We identified how much it's actually costing them. We identified who to talk to. And this was all through leveraging AI and the technology. You got to work through them, massage and make it work. Yeah. But these are all workflows that you can build out. So to answer your point, what do you solve? Who do you solve it for? And you have to like solving it for them. When does your work become the most important? How can you measure that based on market data? And how can you act on it either quickly or efficiently with relevance? Because if you open up your inbox today, you go to your spam folder, people are trying to do this. Fakes. They're going to get better. I think they're going to get better over time. Usually that's what happens with technology.
Yeah.
But right now, the key thing is how can you focus on not just being first, but showing humanity and showing timeliness in a way that, cuts through.
I love the humanity plus timeliness. Absolutely. You said something on one of your shows, and you have a great cold outreach story as well. But you said cold outreach always works for you when you have this one ingredient. Share that story, if you would, about how and why cold outreach always works for you and what is the one ingredient.
You got to care. You just have to care for what you're doing, who you're talking to, and show relevance that you're actually doing that. I know that this might be, an oxymoron, or it could be like contra what a lot of people are telling you, that a cold outreach is dead, that only 4% reply rates. Yeah, if you're doing spam or like high message volumes, but if you're intentionally focusing on one person and intentionally identifying and researching their world and putting that one extra effort of like thinking and AKA care, it's going to work out for you.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example just for, this is not a client example. It's just like my own ads right now. I got an ad going to a training. That training provides value, offers a call. People book a call. They don't book a call. They get the sequence. Great. I have AI also identify who they are, find them on LinkedIn, reach out to them. And then from there, it pings me or it tells me, hey, you should connect with this person, like actually build a relationship. And you can easily do that and just prove humanity. And you have a dialogue. See, does it make sense for us to connect? Does it make sense for us to dive into an intro call? Does it make sense for us to build a relationship? Some do, some don't. It's fine.
So it sounds like AI and these various AI platforms have been a real game changer for your business and for some of your clients. What are some of your favorite AI tools and platforms? Just, very high level, big picture. And what do they do for you?
Yeah, so Zapier is a classic. You can have like little agents in there. I use the APIs for OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, and the API for Anthropic, which is Claude. I also like using GPT and Claude for different use cases, projects, and or deep research. And I like using clay.com to create workflows and dive deep into go-to-market, list segmentation, list building, and custom agents within the Clay ecosystem to do research for me. Because the key thing is, who are you talking to, which we just talked about. When does your work become important? Leverage AI to do the research for you. And then from there, the last one is just act on it. How do you act on it? You could either run an ad, you can hit them up on LinkedIn, you could hit them up on an email, or you can be bold, pick up the phone. If the market reciprocates, give them a call.
That really terrifies people.
It's not that hard. You're talking to another human.
It's like, oh my God, I have to talk to another person.
What if your outreach was valuable? I'll give you another example. One of my clients' agency, large team of I think 40 or 50 people, have pretty ambitious goals over the next several years. So we're entering a new market. Want to hit, I think 20 million. We're entering a new market, and we're going to go through, actually after this recording, we're going to go through the go-to-market strategy part of it. And a huge part of it is going to be cold calling. So how can we make our cold calls not feel like spam and feel like value? How can you reach out with keen observation, identify that you've done your homework, and provide a way out? Who wouldn't take that call? Even if it was a message, who wouldn't take that call? Let's say, David, you're doing the book thing and someone called you, say, hey, David, I heard you on the pod. I think this is a fascinating book. Based on my last 5 clients or whatever, this is where they failed. Would you like me to share with you maybe a roadmap that could support you so that you don't become one of them?
I think the research and the relevance, absolutely. Tell me about give them an escape valve. What the third thing?
Anything in sales and marketing. And I failed at this too, because I love training. I love supporting. I love getting clients to the aha moment. I'm in my zone in a workshop. I'm in my zone on stage. I'm in my zone on webinars and whatever, doing podcasts like this. But also, you got to be on the sales side where you have to keep the pressure and help people make a decision to change. Because the most important thing that you can do if you truly add value is not just give information, but give people an opportunity to decide, to change, and to act. If you keep the pressure and you alleviate pressure by telling them exactly what to do, how to do it, and execute it, hey, you're going to be good on your own. Take care. If you need some help, I'll be here. There's less pressure and no need to make a decision because I could just take the decision tomorrow. I can do it next week or next month or when my business is on fire again. Yeah. Right now, you made me feel good about myself. But you have to keep the pressure to support someone so that they can actually act and change what's hopefully going to be for the better, depending on your service and your offer, which is why the key cornerstone is you got to be legit. You got to be freaking world class. You got to deliver with care. And when you do that, it's healthy to keep the pressure, support them to make a decision. And even if they don't work with you, they've made a decision to change. And I think, and I truly believe this, and this happens all the time, to your point about champagne level prospects versus non-champagne, your marketing should serve more people than the clients that you have. Because it's going to reach more people.
Yeah.
So you could have that marketing could help someone who may not be champagne level today, but in the future would be.
I actually wrote about that concept in the Do It Selling book. I call it happy meal marketing, that your clients get a beautiful 7-course meal, 7 different kinds of glasses, 3 different forks, not sure what the middle fork is for. But everyone that experiences your marketing at least gets a happy meal. And so I call that happy meal marketing, that people should be better off just having experienced your marketing, just having been on your webinar, just listening to your free podcast, just following you on LinkedIn and looking at all the wisdom that you drop on LinkedIn. So I love that. I totally resonate and endorse that strategy. That's so powerful. As we're landing the plane, tell us a little bit about what are the investable opportunities with you, Raul? How do people tap in? Is it a group program? Is it one-on-one? Is it done with you, done for you? What are the different levels on the menu?
It's one-on-one, done with you, some done for you components with the AI, but I've done the group program. It always led to one-on-one. That's where we had the most breakthroughs, the vulnerable conversations, and really being able to work hands-on as like your revenue co-pilot. I work to supporting crafting your offer when you have a deal on the pipeline, working that deal so you can close it for a higher deal amount. That's always my favorite. Yeah. And then identifying on the back end fulfillment. Right now, it's only through application. So you can just hit me up via LinkedIn if you want to have a conversation, see if it makes sense. I have a training if you want to go through that kind of outlines some of the process. I could send you that link, David, if you want. It's the PCP engine.
We'll put it in the show notes.
And yeah, that's it. It's one-on-one, 6 months. And from there, really, it's just transforming pipeline, converting that pipeline and helping you build what success means to you. And typically it means less burnout, more time to live as a human, and also enjoy your business.
Totally amazing. I love that so much. Raul, besides those resources, are there other ways people can connect? I'm not even sure if we gave the website, but you have a fantastic website with a ton of resources. It is dogoodwork.io. And you also have an amazing podcast. Anything else that we should link to in the show notes for people to get in touch and stay in touch with you?
I think dogoodwork.io, the website would be great, and LinkedIn just to connect one-on-one with me.
Awesome. All right, my friend, I appreciate you. Thank you for all those wisdom bombs. And people need to re-listen, pull the car over, get off the treadmill, get out a pen and paper, and take notes, and then go to the links directly below this episode at thesellingshow.com. Raul, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Dave, thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.